people I've kept a journal consistently since 2014, they often say, oh, I couldn't do that, or oh, I tried but I couldn't stay consistent with it. And I get it, because I had a false start with journaling too. Back in 2009, I tried keeping a journal, but I let it lapse after a few months. You know, I loved to write as a kid, but I didn't love to write that much. But since then, I've experimented with a lot of different styles of journaling, and I found the system which I now use, which has helped me keep a journal consistently for the best part of 10 years now. So, stick around, I will let you know how it works. Hi everyone, I'm Imogen. Welcome back to Trees and Turtles. In this video, we are talking about one of my favourite topics, honestly, half my personality, that is journaling. So, my first tip for you, use a plain lined notebook. When I first started journaling, I used a book with a space for each day, but I found it restrictive. So obviously when I didn't feel like writing, I saw the empty space and I felt guilty because I was like, oh, I didn't do it today, I'm a bad person. So obviously using a plain lined notebook allows you to simply write in the date when you feel like making an entry and write as much or as little as you want. The other thing I found with a notebook that had a space for each day was that it was restrictive, because sometimes I would have to write about a really exciting birthday party I went to, or something that you write about when you're a teenager, right? And no shade, I mean, they're epic. And I would have 5 lines, and I'm like, how am I supposed to work with 5 lines? This is not good. So anyway, use a plain lined notebook. This isn't obviously like a hard and fast rule. Obviously, if you prefer something else, use that. But for beginners, I seriously suggest a plain lined notebook for the above reasons. So the other one is that your journal serves you. Don't be a slave to the book. When I say consistently, I mean I've kept a journal that tells a coherent story over the last pretty much 10 years. When I want to vent, my journal is there. When I don't feel like it, I put it away. I don't force myself to write every day. But you know, if I want to, I can. Sometimes I go months writing every day, but that's because I want to. You have to remember, always, your journal serves you. So the next bit's quite fun. You have to sort out the physical details. Are you more comfortable with a pencil or a pen? Sometimes people like mechanical pencils or regular pencils. Sometimes people prefer like a fine-tipped pen or a thicker pen. Do you actually like lined paper, or would you prefer to have a different kind? So for me, I write in pencil. I tried to write in pen, but I found it too permanent. I like pencil because there's always the feeling that, you know, if you make a mistake, you can rub it out and change the phrasing or the way it looks, and I often change the phrasing or the way it looks, so pencil works best for me, but some people might find comfort in the permanence of writing in ink. Do you actually like lined paper? Would you prefer to have a different kind? I like lined paper because for me that stimulates like the word producing part of my brain, whereas if I have plain paper, I'm like, I don't have lines, I don't have a structure, I feel like I should draw on this. Whereas with lined paper, it's like, this is a space for you to write, and that really calms me because it's structured. Which size of journal do you prefer? I recommend A5 journals, which is, you know, an A4 sheet of paper but like folded in half, so it's like half the size, because they're not too big. I found that bigger journals were too intimidating to write on. It would take me too long to cover a page, I'd get bored and I'd be like, I want to turn the page now, but I'm only halfway down it, I'm bored. And if a journal's any smaller, it's like, I can't fit on the page what I'm trying to say, and I'm having to turn the page every 2 seconds. So I found that A5 was the sweet spot, but you know, some people might have a lot more to say than me and be like, A5 is too restrictive, and some people will be like, A5 is too hard to carry, I need something smaller that fits in my pocket. So that's fine, obviously. You know, I know people who have big journals and people who have smaller journals than me, and it's normal. So figure out what size of journal serves you, and figure out the other physical details as well. Ask yourself these questions, try different things. This is the fun bit because you get to buy different kinds of notebooks and write in them, see what works. Alright, so the next tip is try digital journaling. So for a while I wasn't able to write in my physical journal for personal reasons. During that time I kept a little journal in the Notes app on my phone, and I still have it. And I honestly found it useful when I wasn't able to write in my journal, because I still needed an outlet, like from an emotional point of view. And also it was useful when I was on the go, and I still sometimes use it. You know, I'm out and about and something very emotional or stressful has happened and I really need my journal, like, emotionally. And honestly, when I was growing up as a teenager, it provided a real sort of emotional support for me, so I got very attached to journaling. So if I'm out and something bad happens or something exciting happens, I'm immediately like, I need to write about this. But if I don't have my journal, it's very frustrating. So I still use that digital journal when I'm on the go, because I'm like, oh, I've got to write about this thing that happened, and I've got to write about it like now. Even though I've mainly gone back to physical journaling. And sometimes I will take stuff from the digital journal and write it into my physical journal later. And honestly, they're not in competition, they just complement each other. So try digital journaling. Remember that your story is worth telling. So often people think their lives aren't interesting enough, and please excuse my French, this is bullshit. You need to believe that your story is worth telling. Like, I would write down things in my journal that would seem really boring, inconsequential. I'd be like, oh, I went to X shop, or I saw so-and-so, or I wore this coat, or... And then I'm looking back at it, and that was 5 years ago, and I don't go to those places anymore, and I don't see those people anymore, and I don't have those clothes anymore, and all of that is part of the aesthetic that was mine at the time and isn't ever going to be mine again. And I think there's something quite poetic about the mundane aspects of normal life that you don't necessarily realise. Maybe you, well, if you've had as much journaling experience as I have, then you probably do realise it, and you tend to maybe over-romanticise it a little bit, which is maybe what I'm guilty of now. But certainly when I started out, I didn't realise like quite how interesting those mundane little details are, because it's kind of like a slice of life story. Like, it's a window into a world that you don't inhabit anymore, and that you won't inhabit again, or at least not in the same way. And you have to remember that your story is worth telling. So I love to do fun stuff also, so I can write about it. Like, a lot of stuff is like, you know, sometimes you do silly stuff so you can tell your best friend about it. Honestly, I do that too, but sometimes I do silly stuff so I can write about doing silly stuff, and that's a good motivation. Like, you get a fun story and you get to write about it and you feel good, and also you did the silly thing, so that's fine. And I promise your story is worth telling. Even if you don't think it is, tell it anyway, because I bet your future self will think your story is worth telling. That's my final big point, but I had a smaller point, which is buy yourself a pretty journal. So I have loads of journals, and each of them is distinctive in their own way. So my first journal I was given, and it was by a friend's parent. They were moving away, and it had like birds on the cover, and that was a really pretty journal. So the second journal I just found around the house that had like dots on the cover, so I used that one. So that was just, I'm not sure if that was kind of a gift. And then the third one was a gift from my grandparents. Fourth was a gift from my sister. Fifth I bought for myself, which was quite significant because that was the first journal I bought for myself. And anyway, so on. But the first one I bought for myself, that was number 5, that had butterflies on the cover. And I just love butterflies, did then, I do now. And that was just something that was really pretty, and it made me want to write in the journal. So, you know, sometimes people say, oh, I buy journals that are too pretty to write in. They're not too pretty to write in them and enjoy them, please. So, yeah. Buy a journal that you love, that's pretty to write in. When people started to know that I was a journaling fanatic, they started to get me journals that were really pretty, and I've had some amazing journals. Like, I had a friend who painted me a series of 3 journals with like scenes on the covers, and literally painted on the covers, and I cannot wait to write in those journals because they are absolutely drop dead gorgeous. So anyway, the point is that I'm trying to make here, buy pretty journals for yourself, make pretty journals for yourself, and take time decorating the cover. Like, it's a creative activity as much as it is an intellectual one. Like, the creativity doesn't just stop with your writing. Creativity, the cover can be an expression of your personality. Like, all of my covers are expressions of my personality, and that's something that's, you know, part of the story, and I think that's really important as well. So your story is worth telling, and tell it in a pretty book, okay? Alright, those are my main tips for journaling. If you like this video, you'll probably enjoy the rest of the How I Achieved series. In this series I talk about a bunch of things that I've achieved and how I got there. So it's a lot of random stuff, but it's all productivity related. And it's stuff I'm passionate about, so if you enjoy watching me rant on about stuff for like 10 minutes, then head on over there. So this has been Trees and Turtles. My name is Imogen. I post productivity related content every Monday. If you're not already subscribed, please do. Hit the subscribe button, you will get notified every week when I post. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you soon. Bye!